Welcome back. I am John P. Today we are going to be talking about why I am leaving Rolex. Now, before we jump to conclusions, let me explain. This is not going to be a video where I talk down upon Rolex in any kind of way or kind of scrutinize the quality or really anything about the way that maybe some watch collectors feel about the way they've been treated from Rolex as a brand. This is not going to be another one of those videos, but what this video is going to be is explaining why myself personally, not just as a watch dealer at delraywatch.com, by the way, where we buy, sell, trade watches, but not just as a watch dealer, but also as a private collector and wearer of watches, far surpassing the amount of time I've been a dealer, why I am switching from my everyday wear from a Rolex to a different watch. I will share with you and announce just in 1 second. Before we do that, guys, once again, please do not forget to check out delraywatch.com, where we buy, sell, trade, as well as sinclairstraps.com for best premium watch straps. And you can find me on Instagram, The Real John P, where you can see my daily wear and many other cool watches I have in my personal collection, as well as what goes on at Delray Watch. So, what's going on? Why am I leaving behind Rolex? So, I still have Rolex in my collection. Actually, I have 2 watches on just for this video, just to show you. If you watch this channel, you know that I wear, and I have been wearing for a few years, a Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39 Red Grape. I really do love this watch. Nothing has changed about my opinions on this watch. I think the OP39 is so good for so many reasons. The size, the color, the shape, the simplicity, the fact that you can go anywhere and do anything. And these qualities are the same qualities about the watch that I am pretty sure I'm going to be using as my everyday wear going forward for the time being. Those are important qualities to me in an everyday watch. Now, this is the OP39 Red Grape. I get a lot of questions about this watch. I get questions from collectors, and they say, if you have Delray Watch and you have all these cool watches, different tourbillons, right? We just got a UN Sapphire case tourbillon. We have a Sapphire GP Laureata. We have a lot of very cool watches, some Breguet, tourbillons. We have cool, interesting, very high-end, complicated watches. Why don't you wear that every day? The reality is, for my personal life and what I do here in South Florida, go outside and be able to jump in the pool, but then also go out to dinner or something within a few minutes of each other in some cases, I would like to wear a watch that I can go everywhere and do everything with. And if you start wearing some of these watches like that, it's just not the case, right? You jump in the pool, you're not going to do that with a Breguet tourbillon. Even if the water resistance rating is there, it's just ill-advised to do something like that. And being a watch dealer, I always have to think about, well, if I'm jumping in the pool with this kind of a watch, what does that say about me as a watch dealer in the way that I handle, potential damage to the watch? It's not something I would advise, so it's not something I would do myself. And in addition, I like to wear watches that I just enjoy. And as much as I do enjoy those watches, high-end independent manufacturers, for example, or like a Journe, or even, a dressy or Patek Philippe watch. There's been different annual calendars that I've tried out as an everyday watch, things like that. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle, so it wouldn't make sense. Personally, I don't need to have the craziest watch on my wrist to prove any kind of a point personally for me, or I guess what I'm saying is I like to have a watch that fits my lifestyle, and that's really the only criteria that I place. And fortunately, I'm very lucky to have Delray Watch with my business partner, Federico from Federico Talks Watches, where I can kind of scratch my watch collector itch in that kind of a way, right? I don't necessarily have to be wearing some of these cool, interesting watches to enjoy them and to love them, because I can, use them in the office. I can generate content with them. I can, experience them in that kind of a way. So I'm very fortunate to be able to do that without necessarily having to, wear any of these watches out and, somehow take away from the experience of putting on my wrist truly what fits my lifestyle the most, if that makes sense. Now, let me just go ahead and share with you the watch that I am wearing that fits this criteria, that is probably going to be my everyday wear. This is an Omega Seamaster Aquaterra Good Planet 38.5 in titanium. They didn't make very many of these watches. There's not a lot of these watches out there on a bracelet, but the interesting thing is it's simple, it's plain, it is rugged and durable, it has a coaxial movement. The finishing is actually pretty great on this. Honestly, dare I say, better than the finishing on the movement of the Rolex, which you can't see anyway. Not a criteria point for me, but nonetheless, very simple watch that you can once again do anywhere, go anywhere, do anything with, in a great size. Fits a little bit even slimmer than the OP39, which I like, and it's light, right? It's a very light titanium watch, and I think that's interesting. Now, why am I doing this, right? Why am I going from wearing a watch that fits my criteria to a different watch that fits my criteria if I don't really need to, right? Why am I attracted to this particular watch, or why do I want to change up my everyday wear of a watch? Now, let me say I still have my Rolex 1016 and some other Rolexes in my collection, and I'm also not selling the Rolex OP39 because I really do love it. I think it's great. So I'm not, getting rid of Rolex in my collection in any kind of a way, but everyday wear, I'll share with you this, especially here in South Florida, or it seems like increasingly so as Rolex just becomes more of a status symbol. For me, there are just far too many conversations about it that happen that truly, outside of the watch collecting and enthusiast communities, I think just brings conversation or sets a tone that maybe I don't need to have, right? For example, you go, let's say, to get your hair cut or something like that, or you go into a store or you're looking to purchase a vehicle. In the process, people do recognize, based on the bracelet, based on the shape, they look at it, it's eye-catching, they recognize that perhaps you're wearing a Rolex watch, and as humans, as people, or even in the world, in the animal kingdom in general, there are certain signals of things, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it and the way that you view these things, certain things about the way things look lead people sometimes to believe certain things or to think certain things. And for me, I've had so many conversations about people wanting to know what the Rolex is on my wrist and then just drawing conclusions. And I don't really care too much about it. It's just the conversation about wearing the Rolex happens so often, and it always has to lead down the road of me being a watch dealer. And in today's world, being out there in public and, telling people that you're a watch dealer, it's just not, I'm doing this on YouTube, but to people that are outside of the collecting community, it just comes with certain risk, right? And for me to kind of put that image out there, with strangers and in my interactions and show the Rolex and kind of display that kind of a thing that's unmistakable for what it is, it's just not something that I really need to do. And personally, I would rather have a watch that's going to be a lot less recognizable on my wrist in a lot of different circumstances and situations, right? Even, out there, if you're dating, for example, or you're doing business deals, or you're looking to buy something, a Rolex watch can easily get picked up on. And for some people, it's not a big deal. Some people enjoy that. And maybe some people don't want to set that tone, right? It's a lot like perhaps if you're driving a Mercedes G-Wagon, for example, that is going to mean something to people. It's going to be recognizable. Or if you're, driving, for example, a Lamborghini. I like both of those brands, and I think that's very cool for those types of cars and vehicles. I think it's pretty cool, but the reality is it sets a certain tone. And I think personally for me, that's just not a tone that I think is really beneficial for me. And I've had the conversation so many times about, wearing a Rolex watch. The conversation always goes down that route of, well, what do you do? It gets that conversation going in that kind of a way. And personally, for me, I'd rather focus on, less of those types of things, unless I'm talking with fellow collectors, in which case we understand, because whether it's Rolex or Blancpain or Breguet or Journe, we love and enjoy these watches for the hobby aspects more necessarily. I'm speaking in a broad generalization here, but we're watching these videos. We like the hobby. We like the intricacies. We like it as an experience. I think correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but first and foremost, before we like it as a a signal in some regard, as a signal of achievement or success, or look at me, or look what I have. And that's just not the tone that I personally set. So this Omega Seamaster Aquaterra in titanium, I think for now is very cool for me. I love it. Still going to keep the Rolexes in my collection. Honestly, probably still going to wear them here and there. But I think for kicking around out and about, going to certain places and go anywhere, do anything, this is going to be my wear, but I'll keep you updated, right? I think I've done so many videos where I say, hey, I'm wearing the Rolex OP39 Red Grape. That's kind of become, I guess, the watch for me, but we'll see how this goes. And if you have any other recommendations of watches for people that perhaps are thinking like this or others, leave that in the comments below, right? That's the best part about watch collecting, is we all have experiences and share what we love and enjoy. And it's really about the experiences and about that these are ways or things or means that we can connect with others and also share our experiences in the love of horology and watches. What do you think about this? Leave this in the comments below. Guys, do not forget to check out delraywatch.com as well as my Instagram, The Real John P. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P.